This is İlayda, CEO of Clemta. And today I'm so happy to have this session with Leila, our growth lead. Again, hi Leila.
For the second time. Hey, Leila. Hey, everybody. I'm really excited to see what we're going to discuss today. I have a lot on my topic, but I'm really, since I have an everyday conversation with the founders, I can sort of tell what's going to come. But uh, this conversation for me, it's more about what I see from outside of the box and how I can tailor their roadmap so they don't make mistakes at the US entry level. But yeah, let's see. Super excited.
By the way, generally we learn more from mistakes. So I think it's really important to also talk about the mistakes that we can do, that founders can do, and how actually Clemta can help them not to do. So, first of all, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. I know after, working hours, you are so tired, but you would like to, also pursue your dreams as well. So we will try to our best to keep this short, but of course, we will also do our best to answer your questions. But actually, in this session, we wanna kind of give you a general overview of must-haves when you would like to expand your business to United States and the global market. By the way, we also have a Q&A bot. So if you have any questions, either at the beginning or during our section, just write it to the box. So we will answer it if it's relevant to the topic. I can ask, or Leila can ask to me. Otherwise, we will answer all your questions at the end of the session. So regarding everything, formation, banking, etc., everything, you can ask your questions and we will do our best to answer all of them. So, Leila, I think we should get started. And I think the best way will be I will act like an entrepreneur, considering, expanding to United States for my business. But actually, I will act like two types of entrepreneurs. First of all, an e-commerce entrepreneur, e-commerce seller trying to expand United States to have an account on, Amazon US, eBay, Etsy, Walmart, or I wanna build my own website and integrate with Shopify, and I wanna do sales through, directly myself. But in the second option, I will also act like a tech founder. So I just want to ensure, we will cover most of the topics or most of the kind of options that they can, be a part of. So let's get started. So
Sounds really good.
I come to you and say, okay, I want to start my US company and I want to start from scratch. I have no idea about it. How would you help me?
Great. Love the role play, by the way. You don't have to act like an entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur. But yeah, for e-commerce sellers, I love to ask our founders a few questions first, because there's of it always potential in answering and asking questions from yourself in terms of the future, right? So everybody has one marketplace they want to start with, but there are always potential marketplaces that they will launch on later down the road. So let's start there. Which platform are you planning to launch on, and which are your potential options for the future?
So, in my case, I want to start selling on Amazon, but for the future, I also have a plan to build my website and integrate with Shopify and do my own sales.
Perfect. That sounds great. And another very important question is, do you currently have any sort of physical assets in the US? That can be an office, you might have an employee there, any sort of physical presence.
No, I have no relation with United States. I've never left my home country. I'm originally from Turkey, Istanbul, by the way. So I've never left Istanbul for business purposes. So it will be my first time to expand my business.
Gotcha. Well, first of all, good thing is you don't have to physically visit the United States at any point, since companies like Clemta are certified by the IRS to handle the whole process remotely. So in a lot of situations, people try to apply for example, their ITIN, and they have to physically send over their passport, which can get lost in the mail. So trusting a company for this that is known in the market. IRS trust is very important. But yeah, so let's start with Amazon. So one thing that Amazon sellers are very much aware of, and the Amazon community is really close, right? So everybody in this room probably knows that address is a big issue. The reason for that is, so when you form your company, they give you a registered agent address, quote unquote. But what Amazon wants to see is a unique address that's only for your LLC. So this is a topic that we can maybe start with. So the address given at the point of incorporation, the business address, Amazon will open your account for sure. So no problems there, but there is a risk for suspension. In order to avoid that, it's very important to form your company with either a unique suit number, which gives your company credibility. And what that means is it's a very specific address, not shared with anybody or any other company. Or you can also get a physical address. I know you're not physically there. And does this mean one of the questions we get is, does this mean that I have to now change my tax plans? Definitely not. This is just an address issued to your LLC, again, for credibility purposes or for avoiding verification issues, but can definitely put a halt to any possible issues for the future. Now, again, one or the other, a unique suit number or a physical address. Now, a physical address in the market, unfortunately, is really expensive because people give you lease agreements and you pay for literally monthly rent. What Clemta has provided for founders, since we know everybody has their own expenses, especially at the point of operations, is to keep that amount as low as possible. So for $225 a year, you can get a physical address, and that can put every single issue that you can think of aside. But an alternative solution for this, again, the unique suit number, way cheaper, still that acts the same, and that's about 89 bucks. Very affordable, but again,
Mhm.
protects your LLC in many different ways. Now,
So,
mhm.
sorry to interrupt. Actually, as you also said, there are so many e-commerce sellers whose accounts are suspended due to, address concerns. And as you also said, generally physical address are provided for $3,000 per year, sometimes $1,000 per month, depending on the state. So based on the need, yeah, I understand, I will definitely need a physical address or a unique suite number. But otherwise, I also see that there's a potential of, suspension. At Clemta, did you ever experience such a suspension?
No, so the reason for that is we like to be very upfront with our clients. Now, if they want to go with a standard business address, we can still do that. But we definitely make them aware of what would be the right option and potentially avoid suspensions. And thank God everybody trusts us. So fortunately, never had suspension issues with any e-commerce sellers, and I'm in contact with my community. So I check on them. And hopefully this doesn't happen to everybody in this room either. So that is the address topic. Now, some of my clients are like, okay, I know LLC is the right format, but what about C-Corp? We'll get there. That's a question that I will ask you later. But let's go with an LLC, but where do I incorporate it, right?
Mhm.
So here we need to discuss strategies in terms of state options. That's why I asked if you have any physical presence in the US, because if you do, for example, have an employee in Texas, or if you have um, an agreement with a warehouse, like a rent agreement of some sort in Texas, for example, then incorporating your company in Texas would make more sense to avoid double taxation. Otherwise, things like foreign qualification can get in the way, etc. Um, but
So
if mhm.
one question. So right now I'm residing in Istanbul, but if I have plans to move to Miami or New York for some reason, so you said if I have concrete plans to move to United States in the near future, so I should consider the state I will relocate or I will move into. Otherwise, I will be taxed both in the state I will move and also in the state I will form my company, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So that's very important. So if your immigration plans are up in the air, you're not sure, there's no reason to pay more in tax regulations in other states because there are cheaper options, is what I'm trying to say. So you're going to be, for example, if your plan is for 5 years later, there's no need to pay extra taxes in another state for 5 years.
Mhm.
So here, if you don't have a physical presence there, there are popular options we've all heard about, right? So among these are Wyoming, Delaware, New Mexico, Nevada, and obviously there are states that we recommend as well. So with Wyoming,
What are the difference between those states actually? As I also heard these are, international founder friendly. So what
yeah.
are the difference between those states and who should select which one?
So, yeah, that this is a topic that I really want to talk about as well because I see a lot of people make mistakes here. So first of all, Delaware, for obvious reasons, is very popular in the world. Like you hear US, you hear Delaware, right? But that's not the go-to for everybody, obviously. So for you, for in your case, as an Amazon seller, Wyoming is the perfect option just because I, I can't even start with the benefits. So it keeps the founders private. It has a very simple structure for just general management if you're a non-resident. So you have to also understand that uh, it, it- every state in the United States is different in terms of regulations as well. Just because it's a whole country doesn't mean that every state acts the same. So Wyoming kind of so let's say you are adding a member later down the road to your company, any sort of change, Wyoming keeps it very simple and very cheap. So can be a very good option long term for non-residents who are looking for a solution to kind of manage everything from abroad. Other than that, very low in taxes. So as an LLC, you don't pay anything to the federal government, as opposed to C-Corps where they have a 21% federal tax obligation. So the only thing that you need to do is to see what the state needs you to do every year. Usually it's either a one-time uh, annual report filing a year or a franchise filing a year. So with Wyoming, it's a one-time annual report filing and it has a $62 fee.
Mm.
It's kind of
It-
free.
It's nothing actually for a
Literally
year, for the
nothing.
whole year.
Yeah, so that's so people think that sometimes I get clients that only incorporate a company. They don't even have like a big business. They just incorporate a company to save in taxes in their home country. Yeah, Wyoming with the $62 makes it really popular. Coming to your question of what about my other options? Well, New Mexico, for example, is even cheaper than Wyoming to maintain. But the reason why I don't recommend it and why it's not in this page right now is because of its low prestige.
Mm.
You might face problems with banks, payment processors down the road. And yeah, there's no need for that. Again, has great privacy options, but because of the prestige, I generally don't recommend it. It doesn't matter, regardless of your company type or your business. So
So
yeah.
what
Mhm.
if I was an tech entrepreneur? Would you answer my question the same? Would you recommend me the Wyoming option or anything else?
Definitely not. Do you want to switch to a tech entrepreneur now for our
Yeah.
role play?
Yeah,
Okay,
right now I want to be an entrepreneur, trying to build a software app and then, integrate with Stripe and try to, get payments from all around the world. Will you also say it will be the best choice for me to incorporate in Wyoming or any other one?
perfect. Now, again, I have questions. So let's start with questions again. What is your startup? What type of services do you provide, and how are you planning to receive payments?
I will have a SaaS solution and I will also get an investment from VCs and angel investors. And I will integrate with Stripe for getting payments from all around the world and from United States as well.
Great, Elida. So with people who are looking for investments from either VCs or angels, the roadmap is clear as day, right? It's you need to incorporate in Delaware and you need to incorporate a C Corp in Delaware. So that is the only format you can go with.
Hmm.
And the
So,
reason,
please go ahead.
yeah, so there are a lot of reasons for this. So why C Corp? Because, well, you're a startup and if an investor wants to protect themselves. So if you're allocating shares to investors and to shareholders, then an LLC doesn't give you that complex structure. So you have to definitely go with a C Corp. Why Delaware? The reason for that is that all issues in Delaware are solved in 20 days in Delaware court. So that's again makes it popular among VCs, makes it more trusted as a state for them to fund. So again, not even an LLC won't work if you're looking for funding. Now that's a question I asked just because some people have a service, they are a startup, but they're not looking for funding for
Hmm.
at least another like 3, 4 years. So for these founders, I again would prefer to have them incorporate an LLC instead of a C Corp. The reason for that is C Corps are subject to double taxation. And what that means is that other than the state obligations for Delaware, they also pay 21% federal tax. And then the real double taxation subject comes to the topic when they pay the shareholders or themselves as the owners from their US LLC to their home country, and then they get subject to withholding tax, which can be up to 30%, depending on the treaties between countries. So honestly, if you're not looking for funding, why do that, right? So if this is something that you're not sure about, but you want it to happen at some point, maybe doing an LLC for a couple of years, 2, 3 years, and then when you're ready, when you're way ahead of your MVP stage, etc., then you can change to C Corp, which again, for a lot of people, they don't know that they can change their LLC to a C Corp. They can change how they're taxed down the road. And they also can change the state, but it's just every time they're changing, it comes with both the timing and the expense should be considered, is what I'm saying.
So, what I'm understanding is if I'm a solo entrepreneur or maybe small business, and if I'm kind of pursuing an e-commerce or maybe sometimes small business, small activities or a service business only for myself and my family, I understand Wyoming may be better for me in terms of, keeping the privacy and, shareholder besides the shareholder privacy, also I will have a more flexible company structure as well. But on the other hand, if I will pursue VC investment or angel investment, generally they would require me to have my company in Delaware and structure as is, so they will kind of ensure that they are protected by Delaware courts and also Delaware's regulations, local regulations as well. So, what is the incorporation kind of timeline, by the way?
Mm.
It's the same for all states?
Again, every state has their own rules. So they're like, play with my rules, right? So Wyoming, again, one of the many benefits it has fast formation, fast processing with everything. And with formation, under 3 business days, your company can be formed in Wyoming. Um, Makes it a very popular option for a lot of people. So if you're like aside from Amazon sellers, if you're a small business, anybody who's not looking for funding really, choosing Wyoming is like the best option as a non-resident. Fast formation and also brings me to the banking solution, which we can tap back into later. But with our PIN banking with Mercury, then your company in Wyoming will be formed in 3 days. In another 3 days, we open your bank account. So under 1 week, you're operational, which is a magic solution for a lot of founders to get their businesses started, especially in their competitive markets where every week matters, right?
I see. Okay. Okay, perfect. So for speed purposes, I will also choose Wyoming for the, fast formation. By the way,
Mm.
I will also try to ask some questions from our audience relevant to our topic. If not, I will ask everything at the end of the session. The first one is, what if I'm a solo entrepreneur and creating micro SaaS applications and want to get Stripe? Still, Delaware or Wyoming is more reasonable. So I understand she or he will not pursue VC investment. From
Mm.
what you said, I understand Wyoming still will be better option, right? Since
Exactly. Exactly. So again, I know everybody has heard Delaware is the best option, just because it has been marketed well. But in their case, Wyoming, again, as an LLC, makes more sense because first of all, your yearly obligation in Wyoming is $62. In Delaware, you pay $300 in franchise tax. So literally, as in your situation, there is nothing else Delaware is offering you as an extra to go incorporate your company in Delaware. Well, on the other hand, what the disadvantage is that every single process in Delaware is just a little bit more expensive and takes longer. So consider that before moving forward, I would say. So in terms of the uh, um, Stripe application, which I wanted to also come to. So with the Stripe, there are things you need to apply. So you need your incorporation letter, you need your EIN letter, you need a bank account, and you need your operating agreement. But what I've experienced with a lot of founders when they apply individually, as opposed to with Stripe partners, um, they might ask you for an ITIN, which is an individual tax ID number, which we will discuss later down the webinar. But through when you apply through Clemta, you don't need an ITIN. So that's a plus. Another thing that I wanted to also discuss is timing. Very important again when it comes to strategies going to the market. So EIN application expedited usually take 2 to 4 weeks for us to receive it. Now sometimes we receive the number sooner, but the letter between 2 to 4 weeks. Sometimes we receive it in 3 days. So depending on IRS processing. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for your IRS and we opened your bank account with Mercury in the meantime, there are a few things you can do to save in time. One of those things is your BE13 filing, again, a mandatory filing to the Bureau of Economics. People are not aware of, ever noticed in the past few weeks. Another thing you can do if you are going to receive your payment through Apple, if you have applications or gaming apps, anything like that, you need to get your DONS number, which can also be received during this time to save again in time. Um, and we can also draft your operating agreement in the meantime. So for founders, when you say get started on our website and then complete your onboarding, you can also see what your business needs and then have them happen in the meantime while waiting for the EIN.
perfect, perfect. By the way, I will also ask two more questions about the state process as well.
Mhm.
For example, there's a question from Dilara. She asked whether, after starting as a small business in Wyoming, if the company grows and investors want it to become a Delaware C-Corp, is it easy to make this transition? In short, is it possible to move a company from Wyoming to Delaware?
Very
Or
good
vice versa?
question. Yeah, so definitely easy for Dilara because you'll be sitting at home while we handle the paperwork for you. But there are a couple of things to consider again. There will be, well, let me put it this way. Everything that you do regarding changing your company should be usually declared both on a state and federal level, which what it means it takes time. So I would say about 3 months, depending where you're moving your company from and to. And then it also comes on an expense. So there are state fees involved during this process. And again, the price and the fees really depend on the state you're moving it from and to. But yeah, those are the two things, but totally possible and definitely easy processing. Well, one more note because I know she's gonna ask that later. In terms of documents, since Clemta keeps track of your documents in our dashboard, you don't need to put extra effort to put together some weird, complex documentation for this process. We just draft again an operating agreement and then file it both on a state and federal level, and some necessary IRS forms is all.
Perfect. So there's another question actually. Um, are I will move to United States as a permanent resident 3 months later. So it's a definite plan. Uh,
Okay.
and I will live in New York. And is it okay to establish small business in Wyoming? In Turkey, I have a natural cosmetic company, and I want to establish my business in United States also. So, what is your suggestion? May I wait to move to United States, live in New York, and have a business in Wyoming? Could also cost a huge tax.
Mhm.
So, uh, she or he will, since anonymous, I cannot know, but our audience will be moving to New York, but they also would like to have a business in the United States. So they ask whether they should have a business in Wyoming while living in New York, or if they do that, whether there will be, huge taxes.
hmm so again, the coming back to our first topic where we discussed double taxation, if they do it in another state, it's definitely possible to have both. But again, you'll be paying both in Wyoming and in New York. But also depends on how you structure the company as well. So
Mhm.
are you going to be a single member? Are you going to be a multi-member? And if the other member is inside the US and outside the US, which also brings me to other tax questions that I also wanted to ask Elida, since she definitely knows more than me. Do you want to jump in if I can ask you a couple of questions as well regarding this inquiry? So this individual will have an assistant soon, right? In New York. How would someone, not just in the case of New York, how would someone who has a member outside of the US, but the other member is here, let's say 50-50, how would the tax process be, and what are the risks in terms of taxation there?
So actually, we will mainly discuss, taxation process in the second half of this webinar, since it's also important while structuring the company, of course, no doubt. So, but mainly if one of the partners lives in United States with an SSN, the other one will also need a US tax number individual as well, and there will be personal taxation still in the United States. So they will mainly not be able to, benefit from some tax exemptions, even if there is any. But in the case, for example, our audience is living in New York but doing business in Wyoming is still okay. By the way, Wyoming is kinda has the most crowd of multi-billionaires in United States. There's a reason for it, since it's really tax-friendly state among all. So you can do that. You will still be required to file your annual report in Wyoming and pay your annual report fee of $62, as Leila said. But still, for the revenue and for the profit you had, you will also need to include them in your New York annual statements as well. So there will be only additional, documentation and paperwork for you. But if you again select a tax-friendly state like Delaware or Wyoming, it will be not an big issue for you. By the way, another attendee also asked whether I'm a California resident. Is it possible for me to open an LLC in Delaware or Wyoming? Of course, you can do. As I said, there will be additional paperwork and additional yearly filings for the state you will incorporate. But since are tax friendly again, it will not cause a big issue for you. But don't. We will also discuss this later. But Delaware also may have some state income tax as well. It's apart from Wyoming. So if you're a US resident, it may be better for you to, form your company in the state you live in. But of course, there are always ways to, strategize your business, your strategy, everything. And when you need help, of course, we would be happy to help. But before starting, you should definitely need a consultant, advisor to create your strategy, and start your operations there. Yeah. Did I answer your question, Leila?
Perfect. Thank you.
By the way, Annette has a question about whether we partner up with companies, local lawyers, and especially in Uganda. Of course, we would be happy to partner up, especially if there is a value proposition both for our entrepreneurs, both for your entrepreneurs. We always do our best to kind of support and provide more value to our users, our clients, our customers. So of course, we are always open for partnerships. So, Layla, actually, we discussed states a lot, but I also want to, make sure that we cover the, company types properly as well. You mentioned, by the way, kind of shortly about which company type we can choose. But to wrap up, could you please also share what is the difference between, C Corp and LLC? And is there only two company types that I can incorporate as a non-resident entrepreneur?
Yes. So mainly, since you're a non-resident income, you cannot form an S corp, which is only for U.S. citizens. But for non-residents between LLC and C corp, you can also do a non-profit as well, if that's on your radar. But LLC and C corp are your two options. So with a limited liability, again, a lot of people only choose an LLC to save in taxes to protect their assets. So if, for example, you are in the, um, I would say in advertisement and any sort of, it says a small on this paper, but any sort of business who's not looking for funding, a solo entrepreneur, a multi-member LLC, a freelancer, anybody who is not looking for funding actively, doing an LLC would make a lot of sense. Again, because of the simple structure, you only appoint at one or two founders or more, and then they are passed through, and these are passed through entities, which means that you are a non-resident and you don't have to pay taxes in the U.S. and you're only taxed in your home country on a personal level, which again brings these founders a lot of benefits. And then it says adaptable organizational setup, which I mentioned, which by that we mean if down the road, if you're changing the structure, if you then want to do a C Corp, change it to a C Corp, add a member, anything like that, LLCs are very much flexible. All of that happens through an operating agreement. So by drafting that and then filing it to the state, you're just fine. And in terms of C Corps, like I mentioned, the double taxation becomes a subject here. So again, not just your federal and state obligations, but the 30% withholding tax is something you need to consider as a C Corp. But obviously, since you're going to be receiving investment, that is not an issue. You can definitely uh, jump into without thinking, and there are so many ways you can also lower your taxes as a C Corp as well. It has its own benefits as well. Honestly, there are so many Amazon sellers that down the road change their taxation process to a C Corp to keep their taxes low and at 21% if they're in there, for example, five, six, seven figures. So it definitely has its own benefits, but I'm just saying it's not for everybody.
Perfect. So if I'm just starting and if I'm a solo entrepreneur or small business for my family or myself or my small team, then and if I'm not looking for a VC investment or a external funding, then
Mhm.
an LLC will work for me and I will not be paying corporate tax except for I am specifically elect to be so.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, if I'm looking for a VC investment or an external funding or I would like to create a very complex company type. Then, as you also said, yeah, C Corp will be better for me. And
Mhm.
as you also said, we should definitely consider the double taxation process before starting and before, determining which company type will be better for me. So, okay, so I understand there are two main questions, company type and state selection.
Mhm.
I select both of them. Let's say I wanna form my company in Wyoming as an LLC, or as a tech founder, I wanna form my company in Delaware as a C-Corp. So how the process will look like and what should I expect?
Yeah, very good question. So again, depending on the state, the timing can change. But just to give you a ballpark, with Wyoming, things happen fast. 1 to 3 business days, your company is formed. Then we apply for your EIN number. So one thing that I think I love about Clemta is that the founders can actually track what is happening to their company and what is Clemta is doing through our dashboard because timing is very important, and a lot of these founders don't have time to send people a thousand emails to see what's going on in the process, and they cannot be, there's no way for them to be aware, and that's not what they want. So when you get into the Clemta dashboard, once you're onboarded, you will see on your dashboard how many days are left till incorporation. You will see when your EIN will be received, so you can track the whole process. But just to have an idea, 1 to 3 business days, company formed in Wyoming. EIN expedited can take 2 to 4 weeks. Then we apply for your bank account. So our partners are Mercury, Pioneer, Airwallex, and Brex. So you have many options. However, because of again our special agreement with Mercury, we will be able to open your bank account without waiting for the EIN number. So Mercury at this point doesn't say that we don't need an EIN. They just give our clients a 60-day window for them to bring it back. And that's something we will update. And after your EIN is received, then you're free to explore the world. Now that you can apply for banks by yourselves, you can apply for payment processors, you can go register on Amazon and other marketplaces, you can go register on Apple Store, etc., etc. So the world is yours. Um,
I have a question in this regard. So,
yeah.
uh, you said, Clemta has an exclusive partnership with Mercury and they can provide that no one can provide actually a bank account without getting an EIN, which will also save around 6 or 8 weeks for an entrepreneur, which is huge while starting the business. So based on the questions we also received in the session, will I need a second bank account besides Mercury, or can I do everything through Mercury or any other bank you would recommend, especially in terms of physical banks as well? For example, an audience also asked that whether we can also help them when they visit the United States to open a bank account in Chase or Bank of America as well.
Great question. Well, I'm just gonna give my personal answer here. I think every founder needs a second bank account for so many, does like regardless of your entity type, regardless of what you do, whether you're an Amazon seller, whether you're a tech startup, having a backup in a country you're not even physically in definitely comes to so many benefits in different ways. So, for example, if you're in Amazon and then your account, for whatever reason, and I'm saying whatever reason, I think Amazon sellers in this room will understand. So, whatever reason, Amazon suspends your account, then you have a backup plan. Having a backup is always a great option. Also, for folks who want to separate their payment from different business activities, because as you know, you can do so many activities under the same LLC. So you can have an Amazon account with the same LLC and um, do a marketing agency, right? So keeping these type of transactions separate also helps with compliance, helps with accounting, etc. So yeah, having and well, let's say we open your Mercury, adding an Airwallex account, adding a Pioneer account definitely helps. And if well, you can definitely if you have plans to visit the US, that's even well. heaven, just because the documents are there. The documents that Clemta provides for you at the point of incorporation is more than enough for you to apply for these banks. So they usually need your incorporation letter, they need your EIN number, they need your operating agreement. For example, Chase probably will need sometimes in some situations might need a physical address as well, which again Clemta provides. Um, Bank of America also can be a good option. You might need an ITIN there. So before visiting the US, you can knock on our door and we'll tell you what you need and provide the documents beforehand. But yeah, definitely having a backup plan always is a necessity.
So, so we have formed our company, we got our EIN, and before that, we even, formed our and get our bank account. So, actually, you have explained it already, but it's really important point, the payment gateway access. So, I want to ask it again.
Mm.
So, especially for Stripe, Shopify payments, or payment PayPal payment gateways. What kind of documentation the founders will need, especially while applying for it? What are the differences among them?
Great question. So, PayPal, I would say, needs the most documentation in this situation. PayPal needs a physical address, needs an ITIN, needs your operating agreement. So, those are mandatory for PayPal. However, Stripe is a little bit loose and is also my favorite as well. So, with the Stripe, the application is fairly more basic. So again, your incorporation letter, your EIN letter, your address, as well as your bank account would just do fine. In some cases, they need an ITIN, but that's not 100% guaranteed thing. If they do, we can apply for your ITIN application, or as an alternative, you can apply for Stripe through Clemta, which in this case you won't need one. We can go ahead with your application. With Shopify payments, again, ITIN comes to play. And that's definitely a go-to. So with the ITIN, it's an individual taxpayer ID as opposed to EIN, which is your company's taxpayer ID. Now, you usually get it when you're actually paying taxes in the US. However, over the past few years, it became a verification thing as well. So founders have started getting it to verify themselves on marketplace platforms or for banking purposes. So for example, because of its building benefits at the same time, American Express, for example, also needs it. So it really depends on what you're going to be dealing with down the year, and then we can decide together whether you need to apply for it or not. You need to consider that there is a 60 business days um, timeline there. So if you need it down the road, much better to apply sooner than later, are my notes.
Perfect, perfect. By the way, Uh, as an additional point for tech startups, actually posting corporation is a huge milestone, especially for VC investments. I can add a few more points about it. So actually, generally, you define who is your manager, who is your director, or who are your shareholders or shareholder, all through posting corporation documents. And this set includes bylaws, main actually articles of association of your company, similar, system, and all share transfer agreements, IP transfer agreements, all due to acceptance letter, etc. Actually, all the legal paperwork you will need before getting an investment from VCs. If you will pursue a VC investment, first of all, they will do due diligence. They will just wanna see all company related documentation. And if you don't have posting corporations ready, it is a huge red flag. And they just say, okay, you don't even do this seriously. And it generally takes up to 3 weeks to finalize this documentation, and sometimes they don't want to wait. They just start asking more questions. They try to find a new reason to not to invest in your company. And as a lawyer, I also saw many companies, many startups who just failed to close the investment process just because of unready or unprofessional posting corporation sets, since it also shows how professional your company is, how you are dedicated on KYC, KYB, or all legal structure of your company. So if there's any, startup founder, tech founder, it is really important for you to have this when you start your company without any delay.
Awesome.
So, okay, perfect. By the way, I understand, after company formation, again, I'm role playing. After company formation, getting my EIN and bank account, I understand I can start more operations, right? Do I need to wait, or is my company 100% operational?
Once your EIN comes, you're free as a bird. So, as opposed to your incorporation letter, the EIN is your identity number. Everybody knows you with this number in the US, right? So, you need it again for almost everything, not just for filing taxes, but more importantly for banks, for getting into marketplaces, anything in between. But again, if you want to start operations receiving payments beforehand, the pre-EIN banking puts you in that spot. But if so one more topic that we can discuss here, if there is any individual who is in restricted countries, that includes Syria, Iraq. We get a lot of inquiries. Do you incorporate companies there? So for incorporation, for receiving your EIN, issuing an address to your company, there's no restriction on any country in the whole world. However, you might face banking issues because well, most of these banks have restriction on those countries, but there are solutions. Everything has a solution. So if you have a residency in another country, we can still apply for a potential bank account, whether Mercury or Pioneer. If you have another member who owns more than who mm, well, let me put it this way. If you own, as a Syrian, for example, if you own less than 25% or 25%, then you can apply through your partner who resides out of these restricted countries. So I just wanted to put it out there that launching a US business is possible for everybody. You just need to have the right plan.
Okay, okay, perfect then. So I formed my company and I'm fully operational. Actually, at this point, maybe I can take the mic here so that you can also take a little rest. I know I asked so many questions to you. So I formed my company. So what is waiting for me? So what should I do? Is there anything I need to be aware of beforehand? Actually, in terms of accounting, in every country there is an accounting procedure, regulations, general framework. But especially in terms of accounting, US is very flexible. So you don't need to even have a licensed CPA to keep your books. If you can do that, it's great, you can keep it. But if you can, so if you don't have the enough knowledge, generally it is recommended to work with a good software, tax software, or a really good CPA. And actually, in terms of, accounting, generally, entrepreneurs ask, okay, which expenses I can deduct? You will earn money. Of course, you will want to, pay less tax. So, which expenses I can deduct from my revenue? Actually, in principle, you can deduct all business related expenses if they are ordinary expenses. So, for example, if you travel for business purposes, if you stay in a hotel for business purposes again, or if you subscribe for a software for business purposes, you can deduct all of them. There are two important kind exceptions, meal deduction and rent deduction. Especially for business meals, IRS, the highest tax authority in the United States on federal level, the IRS accepts only 50% deduction from meals since it also says meals also pleasure besides business, so you can only deduct 50%. But for this, you need to document your expenses very well. You need to document, okay, I had a meeting with Leila, we had the meal with Leila at this cafe or restaurant, and we discussed these topics. You will just keep these records for your, again for your bookkeeping and for your record keeping. But besides that, you will not need to file this with IRS. But in the future, if they will have any audit for your business, you will be able to show that as a next kind of proof of having this meal for business purposes. On the other hand, generally many entrepreneur works from home and they generally keep their home for also business purposes as well. So sometimes they can also deduct their home office rent expenses from their revenue if they also have a specific contract for their home as well. So if you have a home rent agreement saying, okay, I will also use this space for my business as well, and I will allocate this part of it. I know it's hard, but if you can prove it, you can also deduct this home office expense as well, including rent, electricity, based on the portion of your home you dedicate for your business. But again, like every country, you need to document all your transactions with a bank record, agreement, invoice, receipt. Since again, you will not need to file everything to IRS at the your end, but if there's an audit, you will need to show them to clear your, all audit processes. And sometimes small business struggle with that, but you need to keep your personal and business expenses separate. So if you will buy a toy for your son or daughter with your company's business card, the IRS will not like it, and it can be a problem in the near future, and it may be the only reason they will do an audit for your business. So make sure you keep your personal and business expense wholly separated. But besides that, the accounting system in the United States is very flexible and you should definitely survive. So no worries about it. From the taxation part, I know we are coming to close of the session, but so I will not take so much time of you, so we can discuss your questions in detail. But while starting your business, you should be aware of that there are two main tax structure in United States that you will know and that you will be obliged to comply with. The first one is state level taxation. The second one is federal level taxation. And actually, why we select Wyoming, Delaware, or other states, actually, it's all about their becoming, tax friendly in terms of state level taxations. For example, in Delaware, if you are non-resident, if you don't reside in United States, you will not pay state income tax, state corporate tax, and you will just pay franchise tax in Delaware. It is generally between $300, $450 or so based on your company structure. On the other hand, in Wyoming, you will only pay a fee of $62 for your annual report fee. That's just it. And this is also why we select this status. And you should also know that there is another concept said, sales tax. Actually, it is super similar to VAT or GCT in certain regions of the world, but it is determined based on the state both you're incorporating and also the state your customer resides in. But if you are making sales through marketplaces like Amazon, Etsy, they will collect this and pay it to the relevant states. But if you are selling through your platform, your website, then you will be obliged to collect this sales tax from your customers when needed and pay it to the relevant state authorities again when needed. We need to consider this on your exact case, so I will not go deeper. But again, it is really important to know the basic principle and context of it. So if you see any, potential compliance issues, so you can solve it fast. On the other hand, we have the federal taxation in the second pillar of taxation period, and actually it is the main taxation structure that you should be aware of, since we will generally proceed with a tax-friendly state for your benefit, but on the other hand all states are subject to federal taxes. So federal taxation is actually dependent on your company's type. For example, if you're a C-Corp, as Leila also already mentioned, you will be subject to double taxation, which means, first of all, you will pay a fixed ratio of 21% corporate federal tax for your profits, actual taxable income. After that, if you keep the money in the company's bank account, there is no additional taxation. But if you distribute dividends to your shareholders, then there will be personal income tax. On the other hand, in LLC's case, there is no corporate tax, and based on the revenue and the profit, you will be subject to personal income tax directly. But where you will pay your personal income tax, there are two options. You can get an ITIN for yourself and pay your personal income tax in United States, or you can pay your personal income tax in your home country. It depends on your operations. It depends on your physical presence in United States. It depends on whether you have physical office, warehouse, US-based employees in United States. Based on your case, you will pay your personal income tax either in United States or your home country, and in general, there is always a double taxation prevention agreement between the United States and your home country. So generally, you will pay your taxes once, not twice for your income, which is a super good thing. Generally, it is the case, but LLCs, as Leila also mentioned a little bit, sometimes for strategic purposes, LLCs may also elect to be taxed as a C-Corp when their profit margin gets higher or their business grows. So even if they are still an LLC, they can ask, okay, please tax me like a C-Corp. Again, it's all for strategic purposes, and you should generally, kind of consult with your advisors before taking any step, but it's possible.
Now,
Hmm.
well, one of the one of the questions I get asked a lot, and I have heard in certain markets, especially in Turkey's market, for example, what we face is that people have been informed in some way that everybody needs to get an ITIN when it's tax season. What do you have to say to that, Elida?
First of all, unfortunately, there's a huge, generally information crowd, as I can say, all in the market. And unfortunately, there are so many misleading information for our entrepreneurs, and they may, be subject to them through, YouTube, etc. But in principle, it depends on your circumstances. So for taxation purposes, you may need an ITIN or you may not. So you need to decide this with your advisor, a trusted advisor actually. Sometimes advisors just push, entrepreneurs to buy an ITIN just for, revenue purpose. They will just earn more if you also purchase an ITIN and file your taxes accordingly. But if you are not subject to relevant, conditions, you are not required to get an ITIN. So it is just a waste of money. This is why you need to work with trusted partners, but no, not in every circumstances an ITIN is needed. So you should definitely consult with your, advisor to decide whether an ITIN is needed. But of course, ITIN may be needed for other purpose besides tax as well. Like you also said, to get a PayPal account, to get a Shopify payment account, or sometimes to get a bank account with Bank of America or so, they may require an ITIN. But besides this for taxation, not in every case they need one.
Perfect. Also, another thing maybe we can now discuss while we're on the US taxation structure page, is now that we're also in a tax season, another good question would be, what if I miss my deadline, right? I incorporated my company, I'm saving in taxes, right? Everything is going great, I'm making money. But whoops, I forgot to file. Or I just trusted some random freelancer online and then didn't look back, right? So what happens in these situations? How do I face any penalties with the IRS? What are the outcomes? What do I do?
So it depends on what you have forgot or what you have missed actually. For example, if you miss state level reports, then it generally lists administrative dissolution of your company on the state level. What you should do, so your company becomes inactive, actually legally. What you need to do, you need to pay your penalty and fees for reinstatement and make your company active again. But it is doable and it generally takes less than $1,000, sometimes $500. So it is not super expensive, but still it makes your company administratively dissolved, so legally dissolved actually, if you miss it for a certain period of time. But sometimes, for example, if you miss your deadline in Florida, there is a direct $400 penalty applied for your account. So even if you missed it for a day or 5 months, you will directly be subject to this penalty. On the other hand, the harsh part is, missing federal level tax filings. Since especially you are non-residents, you need to kind of file specific forms for your certain cases. And as a non-resident, showing that you are residing in another country. And if you don't file some necessary forms like 5472 or so, you will be subject to $25,000 just for that. And after the deadline, it will also be subject to penalties, interest, etc. So even if you had not revenue, even if you didn't operate after forming your company, etc., still, if you file certain forms, you may be subject to more than $25,000, which is huge, especially for small businesses. Therefore, you need to take these deadlines into kind of carefully, and then file your taxes and returns properly very before the deadline.
Got you. I noted. I'll let you continue. I'm sorry, I jumped in. You can go.
No, actually, no, it's perfect. As I said at the beginning of the session, generally we learn more from the mistakes. But as we discuss, what are the main mistakes, top mistakes founders make? First of all, just because it's fashion, they sometimes they may choose wrong state or company type because their friend or close relative choose the same. So your case may be specific, and you need to consider this specifically with an advisor. Sometimes it may be true, but sometimes it may be very wrong for your business, and you may need to move it to another state later. Don't just risk it. Another thing for especially tech founders, not completing the post incorporation set, as I said, it may also lead missing a potential VC investment as well. Other than that, of course, missing annual filings will be a headache for you, so you shouldn't do that. Or, filing a misleading or, inconsistent tax return, which will also lead an audit, IRS audit, definitely 100%. And lastly, as I also said, for small businesses, they generally mix personal and business-related transactions, which can again be huge headache when it comes to both tax filing and kind of trying to explain why we did this to the IRS later in an audit. But again, if you work with a trusted partner, you will not encounter any, issues, so you will be safe. But still, unfortunately, every year there are thousands of entrepreneurs doing these mistakes, so it is not, rare.
Awesome. And I also was going through the questions. Someone was asking, okay, I understand that I need to keep my bookkeeping clean and then do the right forms, but where are you at in this process? I think I can share my screen real quick to show the audience how that can be done with less headache. Well, I'm gonna share my screen. Whoops. Okay. Sorry about that. This was not prepared just because the question came up. So with once you get either pro or premium packages, you get signed into our Books Pro dashboard. So I know everybody has again heard of QuickBooks, but that's outdated just because we really needed a service in the market that makes sure that every single need of an entrepreneur is handled through one platform. I don't want to, as a founder, I don't want to get my address from one company, have another person file my taxes, and then don't know where my bookkeeping is. So the main purpose of launching this dashboard was to manage everything all in one place. So you can connect your bank account. You can connect your payment processor. It has integrations with more than 12,000 banks, so no worries there. You also can actually integrate your marketplaces, so Amazon, Etsy, Shopify, even Walmart can be connected down here. So once you're connected, how the dashboard works, to answer your question, is it categorizes your transactions based on expense and income. So let's say you had the meal that Elida was talking about. Because the system is based on US tax regulations and it's designed for tax filing, it understands that as a business meal since your card is linked to your LLC and then shows it as expense. Um, and if it's a bank fee, if it's a SaaS expense, et cetera, et cetera. And how this helps is not only for your just general finance management, but most importantly, the actual purpose of the dashboard is to be able to file in the same place and kind of follow where Clemta is taking you. So let's say it's federal tax filing time, which is now. You say continue, you fill out our form, again, designed for your company, since we know who you are, we incorporated your company. But then from there, our CPAs take that, look at your books, look at your information, and then advise you accordingly in terms of which filings are right for you. So again, there are so many things on Reddit here and there that this is, as a non-resident, this is what you should go for with your federal tax filing. This is the right form. That's not true. Again, for every single founder, this can be different. So it's not something I can do either. So let our CPAs have a look at your form and then give you the right roadmap to make sure you're not, first of all, you're not getting penalties, but also even if you are paying taxes in the US, you're paying the lowest taxes possible. It's my last note, but we can maybe go to last Q&As for this session and then move.
It was great. By the way, we answered most of the questions, so it's good. So I have a couple of more that we can, go over. But besides that, we answered maybe, most while we are explaining how to form, how to start, and how the general, taxation system looks like. So first of all, there is a question from Arthur. As a first-year client incorporated in July 2025, so only 6 months passed, with a Wyoming LLC owned by a UK resident and no US income or presence, which filings do we need to submit this year and by when? So, since you're a single member LLC formed last year, you will need to file your taxes, especially, on the personal until, April 15. And you will also need to file 5472, showing you are a kind of, non-resident stakeholder tied with the company. But of course, when you would like to start your taxation process, Arthur, just let us know. We will also help you and guide you through the whole process. Amr has another question. If I formed an LLC in Delaware after issuing EIN, can I visit USA with my B1, B2 visa and open business account in real banks like Chase or Bank of America? So, Leila, actually we discussed this, but what would you like to say?
Well, with your, again, with depending on the bank, since we also can help you with it, we can tell you beforehand what you need to take with you so your visa doesn't go to waste. So with Chase, again, usually your incorporation letter, your EIN letter, your operating agreement should work fine, along with a physical address. Would really definitely strengthen your application. With Bank of America, you most definitely need an ITIN if you don't have an SSN. But yeah, that's usually a bundle. Sometimes they also ask you for a utility bill, and we also provide that. So we have a physical address plus utility bundle for such occasions. But definitely you can, after the webinar, we will send over an email with my meeting link. So feel free to book a call with me so we can go through your individual case to see what papers you need before you go on your trip. And yeah, we'll figure it out together.
Perfect. So, Last question. I'm a solo founder. SaaS applications, non-US resident, not seeking VC funding. So listed items. And I already have a Wyoming LLC, but still no income. Do I need to get an ITIN right now? No, you don't need an ITIN right now, but you need to file your tax return even if you didn't have an income. By the way, you still have some expenses. For example, if you formed your company last year, you still have incorporation expenses or maybe other expenses like subscription, etc. You should show everything. So, especially if you're a C-Corp, you can also deduct these expenses from your income in the coming years as well. So always it's better to keep your expenses properly and show them even if you didn't have an income. But in any case, you need to file your federal tax return. Again, since you have a Wyoming LLC as a single owner, so single member LLC, then your deadline will be April 15th. So of course it is the last day, so you should, start your filing process at least 1 or 1.5 months before.
Perfect.
So Leila, I think we answered most of the questions either through, another new one. How do I manage my company dashboard on Clemta, bank account, and all if I'm operating from Africa? Won't I have login access issues?
Oh, that's a really good question. So no, there won't be any sort of access issues. So think of it this way. You even won't have any issues with your operations in the US, although you're managing it from Africa, just because they don't see you as an individual. Neither does our dashboard, but they see you as a registered, compliant LLC or a C Corp. So regardless, once you have again those three magic bones of your company, your incorporation letter, your EIN letter, and your bank account, there's literally nothing you can't do, regardless of your home country. Is my answer. We can definitely, again, if you have more detailed questions that we didn't cover here in today's webinar, we can definitely jump on a call and then discuss your case and see where we can move from. Now, we didn't have enough time. I actually wanted to discuss our packages, but we didn't have enough time. I can definitely guide you through which works best, since we're not the type of company that sells premium to everybody. We want to make sure that you get the right package based on where your company is at. So please, before moving ahead, feel free to either contact me via email or book a call. So yeah, we can take you in the right place so you know you are in the right hands.
Perfect, perfect, Leila. By the way, for all the, great notes and also being together with me today. It
Well,
was a
thank
pleasure
you
to
for
have.
having me.
So thank you very much, everyone. As Leila also said, after this webinar, we will also send a follow-up email. And if you have any question that is not answered and we missed in this webinar, just let us know. We will be happy to help in this regard. And I wish you a great evening. Take care of yourself and see you in the next webinar.
See you, everybody. Bye bye. Cheers.